Hi everyone, this is Aaron for Zollotech, and we're going to compare the iPad 2 to the new iPad. And the first comparison is the name. I think Apple wants to make this more mainstream, as opposed to having an iPad 3, 4, 5, 6. What they want to do, I think, is expand the line or just update specs from now on, kind of like a MacBook, MacBook Pro. So who knows what we'll see in the future, but I thought we'd cover that first. So here's the iPad 2. It's a white iPad. And I have the new iPad on the right as the black iPad. Let me go ahead and remove the smart covers. And they both fit. Smart covers work just fine. If you had an old iPad, you get rid of it. You want to use a smart cover. Now, the first thing, obviously, people want to know is about the screen. As you can see, there's some lights reflecting in each iPad, but you can see they're both highly reflective. It's basically the same glass on the front, the same camera on the front, the same home button on the front. And what we have here is just some different apps on each one of them. So this is the iPad that is the old one, or a year old, and this is the new one. They are both 32 gig Wi-Fi models. I decided against the LTE, the 3G and 4G LTE model, basically because wherever I am, there's Wi-Fi, and I also have a MiFi from Verizon. So there's really not an issue as far as connectivity at any point in time. So why spend the extra money unless you really want the added GPS feature, which in my case, I use my phone. Now, the iPads as they sit here look identical, but the only thing you're going to be able to tell the difference between the two, of the iPad 2 on the left and the new iPad on the right, opposed to the screen here, or the actual image in the background, is for the thickness. The thickness is actually a millimeter thicker on the right, and I think that's related to the battery itself. The battery in the iPad 2 is a 25 watt-hour battery. Basically gave 10 hours of battery life. It's hard to equate based on without actual usage. But in the iPad, or the new iPad, we have a 42.5 watt-hour. So we go from 25 to 42.5, almost double in a similarly sized case. It's pretty impressive. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in the future as far as how much bigger they can actually get the battery to be. That said, it does take a little bit longer to charge, but on Wi-Fi, I've yet to see how long it's going to take to actually drain the battery on the new iPad. I know it has to run a Retina display, and it has a faster processor. We have the A5 processor, or dual-core processor, in the iPad 2. We have the A5X in the new iPad that has a faster graphics processor, or quad-core graphics processor. And we have a gig of RAM in the iPad here, and the iPad 2 has 512 megabytes of RAM. They both seem to feel the same as far as speed and things go, but what you really want to know is about the screen. And the screen themselves is very nice on the new iPad, but without seeing them side by side, it's pretty difficult to actually see the difference. Let me see if I can zoom in and put them side by side here. See where we can get a focus here. So let's see if we can get similar icons. So here we have FaceTime on this one. Let me move the FaceTime icon on the new iPad, and then we can see what they look like side by side. So on the left is the iPad 2. On the right is the new iPad. And you can see, at least I can see in the little screen that I'm looking at on my video camera, it's a little more pixelated on the left. It's going to be very difficult to capture on a camera like this, but when you see them up close, they're very impressive. Let me bring the iPad 2 up to the screen. We'll zoom back out. Let's see if we can get a good focus here. And there's the iPad 2. It's going to be hard to see, like I said. Let me bring the new iPad up to the screen, or to the camera here. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to tell here, but things are definitely more crisp. There's 4 pixels where there was 1 before, so it looks much nicer, especially when you're looking at text. Now, certain people aren't going to see that difference. It really depends on your eyes. Some people look at it and say, I don't see the difference. Other people say, wow, that's amazing. Things seem to pop, and it really depends on how well you see, I guess, and how far you're holding it away. So I really didn't have any complaints about the iPad 2 screen. I know others that have, but in my case, I thought it was plenty good, but now it's just that much better. Let's check out the iPad itself. Now, the iPad itself has the same camera in the front, and that's kind of not really a disappointment, but it's mostly used for FaceTime calls. So let's go ahead and flip these over. flip the iPad over here. Now I have a protector on the back of the iPad 2. I don't on the iPad yet. I will soon, or a case. So we have a ZAGG cover here. Now on the back, they look pretty much the same. They're both 32 gigabyte models, speakers in the same place, dock connectors in the same place, volume switch, rotate switch, or volume on-off switch, whatever you choose, and camera. Now you can see the cameras. Let me zoom in here a little bit. You can see the camera is a little bit bigger on this iPad, and that's because it's a 5 megapixel camera that records 1080p video, and it is a much, much nicer camera. It works much better, it has a much nicer quality, and we'll take a look at that. I've set up the smart cover cases along with my iPhone 4 so that we can take a picture of both. So here I'm in the camera on the iPad 2, and you can see in the picture, it's kind of grainy. It's hard to get this distance, but let's try and take a picture at this angle. They've updated the software a little bit for a thumb press button as opposed to being in a really awkward place in the middle. So let's take a picture. Now let's get the new iPad, take a similar picture. And we'll go into camera. Okay, similar picture. Focus. There we go. So we'll move this stuff out of the way, and let's take a picture, or take a look at the picture that we just took. There's the picture on the iPad 2. There's the picture on the new iPad. And there is a significant difference in color. This one is very grainy comparatively. We have not much definition here on the left. It gets really grainy. If we zoom into the same place, still going to be grainy, bringing it that big, but it's a lot less grainy, not quite as bad. It's actually quite nice. Video recording is equally nice on the iPad, or I keep wanting to call it the iPad 3, the new iPad, and it works really well. We're in the video camera on the new iPad. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, I'd really like to find someone with an anti-glare screen cover that might be really nice to look at. There we go. It refocused, and the video camera looks good. The images look nice, and you can see all the reflection, the lights in the camera here. But overall, really nice. The video quality on the iPad 2 is really just, the video's better than the camera itself, but overall, it's just horrendous as far as the video or the camera goes. And what I can do is post some of those videos and pictures later on. We'll take some, and if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you should see those images. If you'd like to take a look, I'll post a couple so that you can see the difference between the two. Now, as far as overall speed and the way things work, let me take a look at that real quick. You're really not going to see too much of a difference. Graphics performance is better on the new iPad, but it also has to push all of those pixels at the same time. So let's go ahead and open the browser. And I don't know what I was looking at. Oh, this is my site here, Zollotech. I was looking for some iPad cases on the new iPad. And they load almost identical. In fact, let's load and refresh. You're really going to see that they're basically the same. They're both loading, both on the same Wi-Fi. They're both pretty much the same. It's not that big of a difference. If you haven't used a new one, you're not even going to notice the difference. They both scroll similarly. They both pinch to zoom similarly. They're basically the same there. So if you're used to using an iPad, it's going to be the exact same experience with a better camera, a better display. Overall, though, you'll have some new apps that'll be coming out that really take advantage of this really high quality Retina display. And in fact, when it comes to text, it's really very noticeable. In fact, if I zoom in here to text, it really gets nice and crisp. On my site here, if we do the same thing, same size, it's not bad at all. But when you have it next to each other right here, especially up close, the one on the right, the screen is just that much more crisp. It's really very nice. It's hard to tell the difference, quite honestly, but when you see them in person, it's really a big difference. So zoom back out. Now, overall, there's some really nice apps that take advantage of the screen, such as Stock Touch, where you can see a difference. They've updated that. That was one of the first ones. I don't have it on this iPad, but it's a really nice application. Overall, though, if you have an old case or something like that with an iPad, iPad 2, you're going to be able to fit it in there for the most part, unless it's super tight fit and the tolerances are really close. The real question is, should you get the new iPad? And the good answer to that, or the best answer I can come up with, is, do you have an iPad currently, and do you care that much about resolution? Because for the most part, you're going to have the same experience. You're not going to see gigantic differences as far as the quality of your experience is concerned. You will see a difference in text if you read a lot of books. You'll definitely see a difference in the camera. And overall, it's just really nice. If you have one and you're thinking about getting another one, don't hesitate to get the new one. Don't get an old one cheaper. You'll be much happier with a newer one. One, because it's new, and two, because the display is really quite stunning. There's some reviewers out there that said that the display looks like you're holding a glowing sheet of paper, and that's definitely true. In my case, it's just really nice. Some people appreciate it, some don't. So if you're someone that doesn't appreciate higher resolution, you don't play a lot of games, there is absolutely no reason to upgrade to the new one. If you're someone that really appreciates high resolution, takes a lot of images, maybe wants to edit some movies and appreciates high quality displays, things like that, then definitely you will appreciate this iPad. I have never ever seen a display that looks this nice. So I'm hoping that Apple comes out with some monitors, or maybe puts the display in their MacBooks in the future, because there's really nothing that compares to how high quality the display itself is. But overall, like I said, don't waste your money if you don't care about those things. Because overall, if you have an iPad 2, you're going to be perfectly happy. You really won't care. If you have any questions or different comparisons that you haven't been able to find elsewhere, please go ahead and place that in the comments below. I love to hear what you have to say about that. And as always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.